What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I have a donation to shout out. Shout out to the brother Aram for once again showing love to Too Raw for TV. He says, quote, the recent Jalen Brunson injury and comeback into the game is being equaled or equated to the Willis Reed famous tunnel entry to the game in the series against the Lakers in 1970. As you know, I'm the biggest Knicks fan and would love to see my team win a chip, but for the New York Press Corp to equate Brunson's injury to Willis is ridiculous. I even have the bird fractured cheek and concussion comeback against the Pacers over what Brunson did. Am I wrong? Love to hear your thoughts. Well, the problem is I found that when we talk like that, like when we older guys, even though I know you're a little older than I am, when we talk like this, younger people think that we're just hating on them. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not being fair. We're just hating on it, and it's not that. It's just that the media tends to over exaggerate every little thing. Everything gets supercharged. Everything gets compared to something historic and sometimes it's put out of proportion. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, when someone does something historic, when someone does something great, we should acknowledge it, regardless of what era it came or what year it was done. I'm looking forward right now to what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and this crop of young players, young female players are going to do. I think that this generation is being hated on by the older generation. Big time. I think Diana Taurasi, perhaps the greatest female the greatest WNBA player. I won't say female players because that's in my opinion that's Cheryl Miller, but she's definitely the greatest WNBA player, in my opinion, Diana Taurasi, when you look at her resume. But I do believe she's hating on this younger generation. Because you got to think about it. There got to be something wrong with competition when a 41-year-old basketball player like her, soon to be 42 years old, I think, is still playing at a high level. There's something wrong with the competition level in the league. So it is, I'm not always hating just because it's younger, but you're 100% correct. What Jalen Brunson did, it came back from an apparent foot injury. The crowd went wild and was loud, and it was a very inspiring moment. And what Jalen Brunson is doing this year is absolutely incredible. But yeah, to compare that to the Willis Reed thing is not being very, it's not taking into context what Willis Reed did. First of all, Willis Reed was the reigning league MVP. Okay? And was playing at a very, very high level of basketball. At that point in time, Willis Reed was the best center in the NBA. He was. He was the best. Wilt Chamberlain was on the downside of his career. And he wasn't the same after those injuries. Bill Russell was gone. Willis Reed was the reigning league MVP. The Knicks started the season, if I'm not mistaken, I think they started with was it 24 consecutive victories? 20, I forget how many wins they had to start the season, but it was an NBA record. I think they started the season with 20, it was either they went 24-1 or they started the season with so many victories in a row. I forget how many it was. It was an NBA record. They wound up with 60 wins that year, I think it was. And Willis Reed got hurt in the finals, not the second round of playoffs, the finals. Okay? I think it was game 5, if I'm not mistaken. He tore his thigh muscle. Okay? In today's NBA, he's not coming back. That type of injury, he's not going to play. Unfortunately, Knicks fans, they're not going to let him play. The team doctors, they would not let him play. The organizations will not let him play. He's out. He's going to get surgery. Sorry, he got hurt. Screwed up, Knicks fans, but it is what it is. That's the reality of today. They would not let him play with a torn thigh muscle. Matter of fact, most players would not even attempt to play with a torn thigh muscle. Torn. I mean, literally torn off the bone. Or at least a portion of it is torn off the bone. Do you have any idea how painful that is? Didn't play in Game 6. Will Chamberlain takes advantage of that, goes off for 45 points. Lakers win convincingly, force a Game 7. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Willis Reed was not going to play, obviously. They injected him with something they give racehorses to numb the leg. It was a type of injection. I forgot exactly what it was, but you had to be precise and know what you're doing, because I think if you inject a person with too much of that, it could literally send them to the hospital and even threaten their lives, if I'm not mistaken. So they injected him with something that numbed his leg for probably like a period of like 2 to 3 hours. And even then, he was still limping. So when you hear Marv Albert on those old archives of that game, which was a Game 7, by the way. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, not Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game 7, no bigger stage than that. Game 7 of the NBA Finals. The city of New York, this close to an NBA championship, and their best player, the MVP, got hurt, and it looked like everything was going to fray away. Everything was going to just vanish because of that injury. And all it took was Willis Reed to come out there. He could not contribute much, but just him going out there on the court inspired his teammates to play at a level of intensity and fervor that the New York Knicks have still not seen. That crowd was the loudest. You think the crowd was loud yesterday. That was the loudest, pretty much most people said, an NBA crowd has been in any NBA game in history. They were the sixth man for the New York Knicks. They did what Willis Reed started, and that propelled Walt Frazier to his greatest performance as a player. 36 points, 7 rebounds, 19 assists. I believe he had 6 steals in that game. Unbelievable performance by Walt Clyde Frazier. But all it took was not only just Willis Reed going out there and playing, but knocking down a long-range jumper. I mean, it wasn't even sure that he could shoot. And for him to knock down 2 in a row. He didn't score any more, but to knock down 2 jumpers in a row was enough for the crowd, tears to feel this man is not quitting. He's not quitting. He can't really play, but he's going out there because his team needs him. He has to be out there. Which is something, frankly, we don't see enough of today. So no, you can't equate these moments. What Brunson did is great, but what Willis Reed did, if he had never played another game of basketball in his life, was enough to put him in the Hall of Fame and be the most beloved New York Knick, in my opinion, of all time for what he did. You know? But that's just my opinion. And by the way, yeah, I would put Larry Bird's game above that too, with the broken cheek. Even though I think that was a first-round game against the Pacers, but still, considering how banged up Larry Bird was, not just having a broken cheekbone, but seriously dealing with a terrible, horrible back injury. Yeah, I'll put that ahead of that too. But I I would put this with I would still say this was a very inspiring performance by Jalen Brunson. Anyway, tell me what you guys think.